Welcome to the New Zealand, but mostly rugby and rugby league podcast. This is your host, Mr. Number 9.
And this is the Fool.
Alright, thanks everyone. There's a lot of things related to the ESL. The world of sports is in flux, so while we're not going to go deeply into the results of rugby and rugby league, and so if you were looking forward to that, I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a bit more about long things that have been taking effect, like cultural changes, especially the effect of COVID on the two codes, and how it's progressing and how we think it could be changed and improved.
Yeah, exactly.
Like rugby in many ways is a rural sport in New Zealand. Like it's the sport in a lot of towns. In the rare town in New Zealand, which is a rugby league town, and you will know those towns.
Yeah.
When you go to them, they're the towns where people are watching their local league team when an All Blacks game is on. Apart from those towns, like in the regions, it's rugby. And that's where all our players come from. That's where all the support for the real grassroots support, they don't generate much money for the All Blacks, and that's why I think they get taken for granted a bit by New Zealand Rugby, who play less and less games in the region.
Yeah, but they do provide that upswell.
They provide
support.
Everything.
Yeah, they supply everything else.
They provide everything else, like the big centers, Auckland, Christchurch, Wellington, Hamilton. Of course, they produce good players, and of course, they are places where rugby are popular. I'm not saying they're not popular there.
Yeah.
But the flip side of it is a lot of these schools that are basically recruiting players from all over the country in Auckland Grammar, and all the other big schools.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, Christchurch boys and Hamilton
it's
boys all do the same.
Yeah.
They're like, we know who they are, and they end up playing in the Auckland system, whatever. Doesn't mean they're from Auckland. That rugby skill and talent didn't come from Auckland.
No.
And that is not to say Auckland, Hamilton, Christchurch, Wellington don't produce talent.
As well, yeah. But the talent goes to those schools because those schools go and find that talent.
But in the regions, a lot of these regions are only producing rugby talent. Other than those rugby league schools, they're only producing rugby talent and netball talent, for girls. And people who can't play rugby play cricket. But that, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But basketball is infiltrating the regions. So New Zealand Rugby are aware of this. It isn't happening in a vacuum. Like I initially thought all the growth of basketball was happening in the urban areas. Wildly proven wrong. Where most of the growth from basketball in the last 5 years apparently has been in the regions.
Well. Like
places like Bay of Plenty, Gisborne, in the South Island especially.
Yeah.
So while maybe as a spectator sport, basketball has been growing massively in Auckland, but as a participation sport and like a talent generation sport, New Zealand's always had, I think, the potential for untapped good basketball talent. We, as a rule, are tall.
I have some tall people, yeah.
There's a lot of tall people, our ethnicities are, Scandinavian and Polynesian people, like North European and Polynesian peoples, and Yeah,
there's some good mix in there to generate some ice and some strength.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and say with basketball, we've had some good years as well. Like there's been crops of players pop up that have been really good, and then doldrums in between, and then could pop up again. But it has been getting more regular recently, which does show that that talent generation is happening. And in New Zealand, it has to happen throughout New Zealand, really.
And there is a pathway to the NBA. The NBA actively scouts.
Oh, big time. The US colleges even more active, I think, down here in New Zealand, trying to, in the high school scene, looking to get basketball players into their system from here. So that's big as well. So yeah, it is crazy when you think about it. And as you say, it has to come from a wider. And
it's not just America, because European basketball teams do this as well.
And then a little bit with the Australians as well. Like, it's not like the Australian League doesn't have a bit of money to.
Exactly.
Where they can.
So this is why, basketball's just been growing, because I think there are more levels to being wealthier. Like, Steve Adams is wealthier than any rugby player in New Zealand.
I think also you get a wider pathway earlier. There's lots of these universities or colleges in America, universities, whatever around, that are recruiting in. Whilst in New Zealand, for the rugby players, that it's the high schools, and then you have to make a super rugby team. And there's only limited space there. If you don't make that super rugby team out of high school, it's a very hard grade to make
45 players, or if you just say there's 20, just including subs, in your squad, then, or 25, then one of 125 players. Okay.
Yeah, well, the squad, the training squads themselves are a bit bigger, but still still going to be maybe 200 players max that are in those wider training areas.
Like rugby league alone already drains talent. At a young age, because rugby league with both youth teams, because every club has one, academy teams and their first teams, obviously, and then there's also rugby league clubs in New Zealand. Who are happy to let you play when you're in high school.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not really the thing is that, and it's been, I think they're starting to get it off the ground, but there's never really been a first 13 high school rugby league competition. So
there has been, but it's always been it's always been sabotage, because the school principals and stuff suddenly just go, "Oh, rugby league's banned in the school." What happened to us in Massey? I don't know what the case was in Rosehill.
I don't think we had a league team at all. I can't remember having a league team.
Every year, students would petition, and it would have more than 200 plus signatures, including parental support, to be like, "Can we form a league team?" And the principal just be like, "No."
I can't remember anything like that. It was always just the
I don't know. I know you're also in a place where league is one of the heartland sports. Just about where you are, the local league club is almost as bigger than the local rugby club. And same with us here, where I am in Massey especially. And I'm not talking about Te Aroha Roosters or Glenora Bears, who are, the top tier leagues. I'm talking about your local rugby league club. Waitak, or, they're bigger than a lot of clubs like Massey Rugby Club. And Massey Rugby Club's not a small club. We've had John Olomu on our roster.
No, it is a bit crazy that way, how the little pockets of league pop up like that. But I guess it's crazy when it's outside of Auckland to me. In Auckland, and I guess that's because I'm born and bred in Auckland, having league teams that are as big as a local rugby union team doesn't seem that surprising sometimes, depending on where you are.
South and West Auckland, you're not surprised. When you go to because in the North Shore and a lot of central places, they play league, but they're playing hard to try and compete against against the local rugby clubs, like your Point Chef Pirates. They've got money. Otherwise, they'd be competing hard against the clubs from Ponsonby and Grey Lynn. Rugby clubs in that region, and Mount Albert for that reason. But your clubs like Otahu Leopards, they get heaps of talent come into there, and Otara Scorpions, and I just keep naming names, they, you know who they are. But but it's like that in pockets, outside of the city, as even in Waiuku has a league club, It doesn't have a rugby club.
Pretty much. Even though Kieran Reid came from Waiuku, but he moved to Rosehill so he could play rugby pretty much. Waiuku College, I don't think I don't know how their rugby team goes, but they've got a decent league team. So
Yeah. And I think like this is the thing, like Waiuku might be one of the few Auckland schools that has a league team.
There's a few of them popping up and around, but yeah, I think they're one of the few that have had it as consistently as they can, given that they sometimes don't have competition to play against. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's ironically a lot of the teams that win are from outside Auckland for this reason.
Yeah.
Though ironically, and also ironically, the champions of Auckland, and this will not surprise you when I reveal it, of the country, of Auckland Rugby League are Kelston Boys High.
Yeah, not surprised. But yeah.
Like after probably their 15, there's still leftover players who are like, we want to play league.
Yeah.
And they played against St. Paul's College, so there you go.
Yeah.
Once again, also not surprised.
Yeah, well, how it goes sometimes.
The other side of it, rugby is struggling getting participation numbers, even with like actively rigging the deck against the direct competition, which is rugby league.
Yeah.
And it has to compete hard against basketball now.
Yeah, I don't know how they're not going to manage to stack the deck as well as they can against league, and they like rugby union at school level really stacks the deck against rugby league.
Yeah.
Massively so. It's crazy
and
when you hear it.
basketball players can also just play at their local club while playing in high school level. That is one big advantage.
But I don't see how that's going to be a big drain. I think basketball, as it's taking off, like more and more players who may have previously looked at rugby union as a pathway will now be like, this basketball thing, this is much more fun.
Yeah. The other thing that doesn't help them is, I think, the fact that World Rugby, I'm not saying Auckland, New Zealand Rugby did this, but World Rugby pretty much goes, concussions, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, cricket is taking huge safety measures. Football is thinking about getting rid of headers because of concussion issues with strikers and defenders
which is
that
crazy.
They're seeing now. And I think it's fair enough to at least look at it.
Oh no, it's definitely fair enough to look at it, and there seems to be some good.
I think they will end up having to do something about it if that means soccer players. I'm saying soccer only to differentiate them between the other football codes.
Yeah.
Are gonna have to wear headwear to keep from getting concussions or so, and like no heading until you're 18 or something like that.
All right, yeah.
And that might just end up having to be the case.
Yeah.
But like rugby league is doing stuff to prevent concussions and minimize it as much as possible and acknowledging the problem. And I think rugby has pretty much gone, it's not that big a deal. Also, the benefits outweigh the risks of playing rugby. I'm like, okay, other than people who become professional rugby players, what benefits?
Yeah.
Can outweigh the risk of like brain damage. I fail to see, like, there are benefits to having a weekend sport and playing and getting fit. Don't get me wrong. But like, how does that outweigh brain damage? I don't see that. And secondly, like, how does it outweigh brain damage when there are other sports you can play that don't give you brain damage?
Yeah, exactly. That was actually my childhood. We played in Victoria. Soccer, football became the predominant code because there was major injuries happening in rugby at little kid level. Like I think there was a 10-year-old that broke their neck or something like in the years before, in the mid 80s, and so all the parents were like, "Yeah, no, our kids are not playing rugby. Dear God, let's go play soccer. Like it's much safer."
There's places like that. Like I think. Part of the reason why Massey Rugby Club aren't as big outside of Massey and the rest of the thing, and soccer is still is big in Northwest Auckland with Waitakere FC and I've got local rival clubs because Waitakere FC's local rivals are Kumiu.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to combine together for Waitakere United.
Yeah.
Yeah. that's another rant for another day.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is like it's a soccer region. Like this is one of the rare soccer regions in Auckland. Like Mount Albert is just because of like what's his name, Kevin Fallon,
Yeah.
just making that team, and there is obviously Central. Auckland has a large South Asian community and like Fijian Indian community and Fijian community that play soccer.
Yeah.
So that happens. But yeah, there's some weird things in New Zealand where certain towns are also soccer towns, like Napier.
Yeah.
and and things like this. So it's and there are like suburbs of Wellington that are purely soccer suburbs, like Miramar and stuff. So yeah, it's a more complex thing than saying there's only one. It's not like India where everybody plays cricket. Yeah. And that is the sport you want to play if you're a serious sports person. You've got sporting talent. You're going to try and become a cricket player. There's literally no other sport that'll make you rich unless you happen to be good at tennis or golf.
Yeah.
And you're from a middle class family and you can afford to
do that sport.
Pay the equipment and play that sport. Yeah, you're going to play cricket.
Yeah. Pretty much.
And it's approachable. Like you'll play football and stuff. Don't get me wrong. And you can't make it as a cricketer. You'll try maybe play football and things like that because it's still decent money. Because there are pockets of football loyalty in India because it's a large country. But yeah, rugby is not the sport. Like even though rugby might be the first sport you try to get good at in New Zealand, it's more complicated than that.
Yeah.
Like I think a guy from a traditional leaguey town that was a leaguey would just never consider playing rugby in New Zealand. Like that crossing the other side is like even more taboo in the regions than it is in like Auckland.
Yeah, in Auckland I don't think it's really
it's just done. Like everybody does it. Like,
you just play
rugby for school, play league for your club the next day. It just happens.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right. Yeah, you get into the regions and you're either one or the other. Like, there is no crossing that divide.
Yeah. From our conversation from ownership models, would you rather the Warriors become a fan-owned socio-type club, like a lot of the Australian rugby league clubs?
I may be biased in this answer, but yes. So
fair enough.
The current ownership model fills me with joy for completely the wrong reasons.
Yes, I suspected it might.
Yeah, it just makes it a much more interesting fan being a fan and just following along at the moment. But no, definitely, I think I would prefer it as a fan owned.
Given
really.
You're a bit more up to the mark with rugby league, especially with the Warriors, I always thought Ivan Cleary left to join Penrith because that was his dream job. Like he's a Penrith boy, and he left after going to the grand final. It wasn't the Warriors didn't kick him out, right? Like they weren't like, yeah, we want a Kiwi coach and a core Kiwi team and blah blah blah. You don't fit that thing.
No.
Hey, look. Who are you to call Ivan Cleary not a Kiwi? Fuck you.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
He's been here long enough.
He's a Warriors legend. Once you've played that many games for the Warriors, you're a Kiwi. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
Yeah.
No, that was always my understanding as well, that Cleary went to Penrith first. That was his home club. That's his dream job. He's like, look, they came asking. It's the Penrith Panthers. I'm not going to say no. And the Warriors are like, yeah, it's the Penrith Panthers. You're not going to say no. Like, what are we going to do? Like, we can't compete with the Penrith Panthers for you because we know what that means to you. If you want to stay, we're not going to say no. The contract's here, but we understand why you're not signing it. And I think they took the opportunity because Cleary was leaving, and there wasn't really a lot to do. To be like, okay, let us, we're the New Zealand Warriors. Let's make us a New Zealand-based thing. Let's have a New Zealand management team. Let's be more New Zealand-based.
I mean, it's a bit unfortunate because if Cleary had stayed, I think we could have made another grand final, and we probably would have had Nathan Cleary now in our team. And he loves the Warriors.
I wouldn't have thought of that actually, but yeah, we would have had him the whole time. That would have been hilarious. Yeah.
Because he actually played juniors for the Warriors, right? Because he's that. Yeah, it's his dad's team. Right?
Yeah. He was here anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, it would have been so good. Yeah. He would have probably played for the Kiwis too.
Probably. That might have been a bit of a stretch, but still probably.
Yeah, I mean, probably not that one, but yeah. But the Warriors, for sure.
For sure.
I've long accepted the Warriors may never win a championship, as long as I live. Like, never say never, but as long as I live, I don't know if I'll ever see the Warriors win a grand final. But I've been to 2 grand finals. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'll take that.
I feel like sometime in the next 50 years or 40 years that there'll be a...
This is obviously barring something like, Wayne Bennett decides he's going to coach the Warriors to prove he is the GOAT.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, if something like that happens, you're like, yeah, like, but you had Wayne Bennett, that's...
Yeah. That could be funny if that happened, actually. He's like, you know what, I'm going to really prove him the GOAT. I'm taking the Warriors to the final and winning. And they'd both be like, oh my god, you really are the GOAT.
There's just a few clubs in that list, like, if Wayne Bennett took them to the finals and won, then you'd just be like, yeah, there's no question you're the GOAT. Like I think West's Warriors...
Yeah.
Gold Coast?
Yeah.
I mean, Gold Coast will one day probably be a good team. Like, do you think the Gold Coast Titans will win a grand final before the Warriors?
Ooh. Actually, this is definitely biased, but no. I think the Warriors have shown that they've got more pedigree there. Like, they're able to recruit generally better players than the Gold Coast Titans. Like, the Titans have good players, but overall I feel like the Warriors recruiting in their squads tend to be better, which to me says that just one year the fan maximum will come true and it will be the Warriors year and we'll win it, and it's like it's
in a weird way the New Zealand Warriors are the Dallas Cowboys of the NRL. Despite not winning anything, we're like, every year this is our year.
Yeah. But
especially if we win our first game, we're like, yeah, we told you this is our year.
So, yeah. Every year there is substance behind that statement. It's not just a nothing statement. This is our year. But look at who we recruited. Look who we kept. Look at the squad. Like, it's on paper or in theory, like, we have strong teams and we should do well, and it just doesn't sometimes. Or sometimes it does.
Would you welcome Sean Johnson back?
Always. Oh, I'm a Sean.
Me
Johnson.
Personally, yes, I agree.
Yeah, like, I'm a Sean Johnson fanboy. I mean, I would welcome him back, definitely. I didn't like the fact that he left.
In your all-time Warriors team, does he play halfback or Stacey?
No, Stacey plays. I'm sorry. I love Sean.
And he'd be your like pivot, right?
Yeah. No, Stacey runs the team in any all-time.
Yes,
team.
I agree.
Like, he's number one pick. He's right there. He plays where he wants to play, and he just runs the whole thing because that guy was a legend.
Yeah. So Ridgie or Cleary as at fullback?
Cleary. Sorry, Ridgie.
Yeah,
Cleary. The honorary New Zealander. Cleary.
Like, if I'm just going by by their performances for the Warriors, it has to be Cleary, right? All right.
Yeah. I mean, I would consider Tuivasa-Sheck. Yeah, I think it's still going to be Cleary, obviously, but
you can move Tuivasa-Sheck to the wings, right?
Yeah.
Or even center.
Well, he's moving to the wings now to accommodate the new guy that they've found, or one of the two new guys they found.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But he's also always waffling about playing Union, right?
Oh no, I think he's actually signed for next year for the Blues. I think. Who knows? It's a league. It's a rugby league story. Who the hell knows what really happens?
Sure.
Wait till next year and see what they say. Who was it? Wellington halfback. Who's apparently switching to league.
TJ Perenara.
Yeah, TJ Perenara. There's rumours saying that he's going to go play for the Roosters next year.
Why the Roosters? It's like with Sonny Bill coming back to league. Yay! Oh, Roosters. Oh.
At least
they're already going to win. Why do you have to go to them?
But with Sonny Bill, at least it made sense to go to Roosters because that's where he started.
Yeah,
it's his club. Fair enough. But TJ Perenara, you're like, why the Roosters? Like, Of all the clubs you could choose, the Roosters. Okay, I guess.
Hey, don't get me wrong. You're allowed to choose whoever you like. TJ, I'm not.
Yeah, like you go where you go.
But we will boo you.
Yeah. Like of all the clubs you could pick, like you could at least pick one that's vaguely New Zealandish. I mean, you might not go to the Warriors. That me, that's the first pick for you because New Zealand team, New Zealand. But Manly, even South's more Kiwi than the Roosters. Come on.
Or West.
West, definitely the West.
West, Manly, or Parramatta, we can go. All right. Yeah. Fair.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but apparently that's just all hearsay. At least according to the.
Of course it is.
Cool. But yeah, it's just hilarious that can be asked.
Yeah.
The Hurricanes management were like, it's not happening. We've got our man. It's fine. He's coming back from Japan. He'll come back to us.
Obviously, this is not going to happen during COVID. It's interesting to me that rugby league is always seeming to try and make the sport more Australasian.
Yeah.
Like they're looking for a second New Zealand team. They're looking for a team in Papua New Guinea, or even like a Pacific Islands team that's going to be based in Sydney or something like that.
Yeah. No, yeah, they do a lot more of trying to expand it through there than the other Australian league or codes that have New Zealand teams in them.
Yeah.
Well, other than the ABL, the basketball league they definitely like the Breakers. I don't know if they're actively looking to add more New Zealand teams in or anything, not like league, because league's interesting because they're trying to say they look to add more New Zealand teams. They want to add more Pacific Island, Papua New Guinea type teams, and despite the fact that their fans are always complaining about the New Zealand Warriors in the first place, like, oh, it's too far, they're no good, never win anything, get rid of them. Anytime there's issues with funding.
I know there will probably, if there is another expansion team, it'll probably be a second Brisbane team or another team in Queensland.
Yeah. But they'll think about it. Unlike the A-League, which is just looking for any excuse to get rid of the Wellington Phoenix. Like, straight up.
Yeah. I think they're also always trying to get back to Western Australia. Like I think they've always viewed getting rid of the Reds as a mistake, because now they're kind of reaping the rewards of the Storm, right? Like having the Melbourne Storm in Victoria, because it's grown beyond this is all the New South Wales and Queensland people in Melbourne who support this club.
Yeah.
Or they come to support their club as away fans.
Yeah.
So, but now they've got the generation of homegrown fans, and it's just like, if you don't have to not support your ARL team, you can just support both.
Yeah, exactly.
You can have two teams.
And Melbourne does well with the A-League as well, the two football teams there, plus their league team, plus
they've got two Big Bash teams as well.
Oh yes, they do too.
Memory.
Yeah, Melbourne does well supporting it.
And obviously the 8 AFL teams.
Yeah, I was going to say, and the other many millions AFL teams they have. But it is Melbourne and Victoria, you expect them to have all the AFL teams, really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think rugby or rugby league are going to put a second team in Victoria.
No.
Even it's weird because NRL I think is always looking for expansion and like specifically expansion a bit outside Australia. And Rugby Union is always looking for expansion in South Africa, but I think they're happy with the 4 or 5 in New Zealand and Australia.
Yeah.
Like I don't think New Zealand needs an expansion side in Super Rugby.
We couldn't really fit one in, I don't think. Like where would they be based? It's the Central North Island somewhere, but Napier.
It'd have to be another Auckland team, right? Like, it would have to be basically counties and Bay of Plenty.
Yeah, you could possibly base it there, and then Chiefs just
take Taranaki and and obviously teams like King Country and Gisborne and
Hawke's Bay.
And Hawke's Bay.
Yeah.
Oh no, Wellington would get Hawke's Bay.
I suppose, yeah.
Or you could have Wellington take the northern half of the South Island, but that's not really giving them much.
No.
Like if you're taking Manawatu, if you've got Manawatu and Hawke's Bay and Wellington, that's a decent feeder system for the Hurricanes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's this thing. Like it's impossible to think if the Blues were actually you could have a third South Island team.
Possibly, yeah. I guess
like two in Canterbury.
Yeah.
Literally, like how you have two in Auckland with the Blues and Chiefs.
Chiefs aren't really Auckland, but yeah. Counties, I guess.
Counties.
Yeah. So I guess you could split North Canterbury with the Tasman area off as a one.
Yeah.
And then have the rest of Canterbury and Westland as the Crusaders.
Yeah. It would basically be a regional
team. Yeah.
But I think it would be interesting if you're not for Super Rugby to look at expanding Heartland Rugby, like having a Heartland team in Auckland. Like a regional team somewhere between like south of Papakura and north of
have a Franklin
Hamilton.
Team. Have like a Franklin team.
A Franklin team and a Wellisford team.
Yeah.
Because I think those regions are kind of underrepresented in.
Yeah, well, if you're being Heartland Rugby, then you're Thames Valley. Then if you're instead of Franklin, like
sure, Thames Valley. I guess Thames Valley exists for the south side, but the north side probably would need something between Warkworth and Whangarei.
Yeah. Technically, Thames Valley is a traditional rival of counties, so if you're supporting Heartland Rugby, it's from the Franklin area. It's a bit of a hard sell to go support Thames Valley, but technically
I think you could justify a Franklin team.
Oh, you could definitely.
Like it would go all the way from Pukekohe, like I said, from south of Papakura all the way down to
it would be the Franklin district.
Basically Huntly, maybe.
That's basically the Franklin district. I mean, maybe not quite as far as Huntly, but for Franklin, but right down to Port Waikato and the Waikato River, and from halfway from Drury, that's all Franklin. So that's why I say Franklin.
I mean, you're taking a reasonable amount away from Waikato, but not really.
Well, that's why it's Franklin, right? Because then it's Franklin's divided between Auckland and the Waikato. It's like split half. The northern half where Pukekohe is, and
you could probably play your games in Pukekohe or like even maybe somewhere Pocono.
Depends.
Mercer.
Maybe like Pocono, Mercer.
To be more central,
to be more of the Heartland Rugby feel as well.
Yeah.
Like,
because Pukekohe is a proper suburb of Auckland now. It's not like a small town just outside of Auckland anymore.
And the counties NPC plays out Pukekohe, right? It plays out of Steeler Stadium, so it's not. That's the problem. If you had the Heartland Rugby team playing out there as well, they're playing out of a proper stadium as opposed to the Heartland feel of a field.
Yeah. I agree with that. Is there a reason why counties play in Pukekohe as opposed to like in Manukau, or?
Because counties is really Pukekohe. Like the fact that it's counties Manukau is just a redivision of Auckland to carve off some of the southern bit. So it's just because counties was counties, and it's now counties Manukau. So Pukekohe is the center of counties.
That's interesting because I think a South Auckland base, because obviously southeast Auckland has the Warriors. That part, Mount Wellington all the way to Mount Wellington, Glen Innes, and all that area around Mount Smart is going to be, and Otahu is going to be league country.
I think the actual answer, I should add, was the question is why not Papakura? Because Papakura is more the high thing, and that goes back to your league versus union divisions. Because Papakura is definitely a league area.
Yes. Yes, 100%.
Other than Roseville.
Then I guess you'd be Takanini then, and that would give you Takanini feels like a place which could have a Heartland team. Still.
Yeah.
Even though it's right inside the,
Like it's fully urbanized now.
Yeah. Like Takanini and even Helensville feels like it could have a Heartland team.
Yeah. Helensville definitely. Like at least you have to go through fields to get there. Like Takanini, there is none. It's all city now.
Yeah, and that's why I think like north side, like it would be basically Helensville, Wellisford, Warkworth, and then you could have a team around there, like Snells Beach.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I think Silverdale, Whangaparo is definitely harbour country. Like that's very well served because the stadium's in Albany is right in the middle of their area.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think Helensville people think of themselves as harbour country. Even like, I played through Massey through my whole system, through my whole rugby career, and I've never really been a harbour fan. You know, I've always been an Auckland fan.
Yeah. I wouldn't think out this way as being harbour either.
But like, even in a weird sort of way, because if you had something based in Helensville, it would basically be Helensville, Hobsonville, Parakai.
Yeah.
That could be a decent heartland side.
Yeah.
I'm not saying these guys should be playing in the top tier. I think you could expand to another division in like a third heartland division.
Well, maybe.
And play with clubs over there. And like I think that's the sort of thing rugby needs to consider to growing the game.
Well, growing the grassroots part of it, right? So,
growing the if they want to grow the grassroots part in the Super City, it's like you have to go from the outside in. You have to go to the areas that are new and they're like still small, and you can build like a heartland type of grassroots team. Yeah, and then eventually, if they get big, you can be like, oh, maybe we expand the top leagues to include these provinces in, or not, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the fact that you can go up 3 divisions to, like, the top of the Heartland League might be enough for local fans. You're like, yeah, we don't really want to play in, like, the commercial, you know?
Well, that's meant to be the thing for the Heartland Raiders, not for the commercials, the spirit of the game. The love of the game, they all
and I think that's a good system. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the old system with 4 divisions and the old pyramid, but it wasn't viable financially.
No, exactly. And
I think the current system helps grow the game in grassroots areas really well with the Heartland system. I just think it's a pity that New Zealand's biggest city doesn't get that Heartland experience, and that's going to make it harder to grow the game in the grassroots level.
Yeah. Is there even a Northland-based Heartland team?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I don't think there's anything further Northland
like
teams
that's
going.
why it's even weirder, right? Like there's so many, because even in Wellington there are places that could be Heartland, but at least got
Wairarapa.
Wellington, they've got Wairarapa, and basically other than Northland, there's no other. So like even a far north rugby team, basically north of Russell, all the way to Cape Reinga, playing in the Heartland would be a really good team. But once again, that might be league country.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, I can't say for certain, but yeah, I feels like that's league country. The reason why it's not there is because it's potentially league country.
Yeah, maybe the Northland.
But I'm sure, like Russell with Paihia along with it, and the Kerry along with it, could easily support having like a 3K stadium for rugby, or a 3K, 3,000 capacity, home ground for rugby. Like it would, I think it would be really good.
Yeah, you would think. Maybe it also comes down to travel times as well. Like.
Yeah, that's why it was basically Kerry, Paihia, and Russell. So those are the 3 towns.
Yeah. It's serviced by an airport, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, obviously, you couldn't have it further north from Russell.
No. Yeah, guess. Yeah, no, just Kaitaia, I guess, is going to be more league-based.
Kaitaia feels like a league town to me. Or at least a town where league has a strong presence. If it's not an out-and-out league town, as per se. Yeah, there's towns like that. And like I said, you could potentially have 2 or 3 good heartland sides from Auckland, where it's still places where it's still quite rural, and
it's still amateur teams.
You can grow. Like, I think, for example, like technically this Franklin district would include Waiuku, but that as we've established, that's league country. And Papakura is league country, but that's still south of Papakura to Pukekohe. That's rugby country.
Yeah, pretty much.
if you went south of Pukekohe to do your thing, so basically, yeah, that. I mean, do you make it south of Pukekohe? Because if you play, like I said, if you based it out of Mercer and Huntley sort of thing, that would. And but the thing is, Huntley's also a league.
Yeah. No, it'd have to be Pocono, I think.
League bastion.
Pocono would make the most.
Yeah, it would have to be Pocono. It's new and it just, it's it's separate to Pukekohe. It's still further away,
but close enough that it's not a people from Pukekohe could go there to watch the games.
Yeah, and people from your neck of the woods, Waipa and Clark's Beach, could go there as well and
not too far
and enjoy it. And like people from north of Mary could do that too.
Yeah.
And Mercer.
Yeah.
But yeah, once you're starting hitting Huntley, that's where it's league country again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you could do that in, like, the thing is it's tricky in Helensville and Hobsonville because there's already a big league presence.
Yeah.
So and it's weird because I feel like because New Zealand Rugby didn't do like smaller heartland teams in Auckland, like it's, rugby leagues won the grassroots battle.
Yeah.
Like without any competition.
Pretty much, yeah.
Because we still have our local league clubs and, in these areas.
Yeah. Well, you could argue that the Auckland Rugby League competition is sort of the heartland competition for Auckland.
Yeah, it is. In many ways, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So you're saying they have won it basically without any competition, because they have it here with
they do
the pathway through to the Warriors and the NRL and rest. So.
But the other flip side of that is I think New Zealand Rugby very much needed to win back the trust and not the trust, but like, the big brand new thing. And if the Rugby World Cup had played out well, then they would have probably gone to Amazon and been we have all the money.
Yes.
But they didn't get that opportunity. And because it didn't work out well and, they made some really bad mistakes.
Yeah.
Like mistakes while trying stuff. So I can forgive that sort of mistake, but I think it's very fair for people in the regions to be upset with New Zealand Rugby and feel like they're always like put to the side and not given a second thought. And like by regions, I don't mean I mean literally outside the cities. I don't count Invercargill as a region, for example. I'm meaning in the proper regions,
like Westland and
and like places like Invercargill and the south, deep south have good internet anyway. But places along in the country where it's just too remote to get good internet without satellite.
King country, that sort of thing. Yeah, exactly. The places where it's actually there is no major town nearby. Like you say, Invercargill's a major town, like that.
Exactly.
You don't count. But for this bit, like you have fiber, you have good broadband. Yes. Like you're literally talking about the places where it is out in the wops and there is no good connections. So, and there is a much wider socio-economical type debate to be had around that.
Yes,
because of stuff, but they do have a point. Like, and that's where you get back to the Heartland Rugby. Like they are the driving force for that, and that's the driving force for grassroots rugby in New Zealand. So.
Yes.
New Zealand Rugby to sort of be perceived to have thrown them under the bus and ignored them for the bright lights and the big money. I can see why they'd get very upset about that. I mean, to me, there was always a bit, I felt like New Zealand Rugby and Spark Sport and TVNZ didn't capitalise on pushing more, making sure that there was a push for more games on TVNZ, and so that way they could push that part of it more, but people felt like, we have to have Spark Sport to see the Rugby World Cup, and it was like, well, no, there are some things over here, like,
and you can watch them all on Maori TV if you don't mind te reo commentary. Excuse me.
Yeah, there was other ways of watching it. It just felt like that wasn't promoted as well to alleviate some of that hard feelings of. But, with Sky, I got everything.
And I think it's important to note there are 700,000 households in New Zealand that had Sky.
Yeah.
And so that is a significant portion of New Zealand households. Like, us millennials and maybe Zoomers as well, and some Gen Xers think Sky is prohibitively expensive, and we don't even consider it.
Technically, we're Gen X, by the way, just FYI.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying I've included the X.
You just said us millennials.
Us millennials, but then I realized that we are technically Gen X, so we should include them in it as well. But you're absolutely right. But there's a generation of us who entered the workforce in and around the time of the Great Recession, and even before then, we went through a recession in the 90s when we were teenagers. So especially in New Zealand, things are expensive, in terms of wages of what you're earning. So you don't want to spend money on something that you don't feel like you're gonna get the full usage out of.
Yeah, exactly.
And so for people like you and me who probably only wanted to get Sky Sports for Premiership, it didn't make a big deal. So we never even considered it. So the fact that they New Zealand Rugby swapped to Spark Sports meant we considered getting a Rugby Union pass, getting a World Cup pass. It was an opportunity for them to regain a lot of that urban viewers who have stopped viewing their sport and started viewing other things. But they had to figure out, and they didn't realize how much were going to end up alienating their regional supporters. Because of the way it was executed.
I think a little bit they misunderstood how much those regional supporters wanted to see the non-All Black games, the other games. You could only see those on Spark. And I think there's also misunderstanding, us, saying our Gen Xers, millennials, who that's the way we want to support it. It's online and stuff, and urban stuff. How much we didn't want to watch the other rugby. We'll watch the All Blacks. Cool, it's the All Blacks. We'll watch that. But there's a few other games that will be interesting. And in the end, I didn't pay for the Rugby World Cup on Spark for all the games. I did weigh it up, there's some there, but...
Me neither, but it was a close call.
Yeah. I'm going to get the All Blacks games I care about free, so that's okay, but... And I can, because I did pay for Spark Sport, so it meant that the games that were being displayed on TVNZ were on Spark Sport on demand as part of Spark Sport anyway, as opposed to the Rugby World Cup coverage. So that meant I could catch up if I missed it anyway. So I was like, I'm okay. So I think that was that balance they misunderstood. There's more people in the regions that would want to watch the other games than there really was in the urban areas, or the missing market that they were trying to capture.
Also, I think maybe the price point was a bit too high.
Yeah.
It really needed to be, it's so cheap that it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I think even a $40 pass versus an $80 pass, sure, you're not making that much money, but you're regrowing the game. If that was your primary goal.
Yeah, but the primary goal was money. I mean, really, come on.
Yes. I mean, obviously, yes, but if if there was a thing of we won't gain as much money in return for future growth, investing a bit for the future as opposed to cashing out the dividends now, that's they could have made it cheaper, and I think also people in the regions would have been less angry if it was cheaper.
Yeah.
Because it was reasonably it was expensive for us living in Auckland. It must have been really expensive for people living in in the smaller towns out in the regions.
Well,
and they're not getting and they feel especially ripped off because they're not even really getting to watch it properly.
No, their stream would have been, it was quite disrupted.
Yeah.
What all the reports were. But yeah.
But I think, to be fair to New Zealand Rugby, apart from that, they recovered very well from COVID. I think people can agree Super Rugby Aotearoa has been a very big success.
Yeah.
Both tournaments.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't hurt that NRL, the Warriors, are doing terrible in the NRL.
Yeah.
And
but that's not unusual either.
Yeah, that's usually the case anyway. But like, there's no league teams for them to watch in Ericsson Stadium, for example,
I think that's
or
the
Canterbury.
That's the big bit, is that the Warriors are having to base themselves in Australia.
Yes.
And so therefore, in New Zealand, there is nothing else. Like even the diehard leagues have to be like, well, I guess we'll support some union for a bit because that's what's on.
Yeah.
I know at the beginning we were saying that we weren't getting too much in the results, but still, go the Chiefs. Gonna beat the Crusaders this weekend. Honest, it's gonna happen. Just you watch. Wooden Spooners last year, champions this year.
Yeah, the Chiefs are the ultimate bandwagon hipster team in New Zealand rugby because my brother supports them.
Yeah, but I've
suddenly out of nowhere, like Rizan's like, I'm a Chiefs fan. I'm like, what?
Yeah, but I've supported them since the '90s, so it's okay. I'm a true hipster. I liked them before they were cool.
Anyway, fair enough. But we all know the actual hipster favorite is always the Highlanders.
Yeah. That's the Scarfies one.
We're not the ones having to make this decision, first of all.
Yeah.
And it's easy for us to say in retrospect they could have done this and could have done that. And they can't deal with the hand that could have been dealt. They have to play the hand they're dealt with now.
Yeah, pretty much. And you say they are sure to have more of the information than us.
Yes,
we're
absolutely.
Just going off the bits that we're being told. And
we're going off anecdotal evidence and statistics we've cherry-picked to make our arguments look better.
Yeah. And it's all that's been passed to the New Zealand Herald or stuff, so
yes,
being coloured in that way as well, depending on how they want to colour it. So
yes, exactly. I accept that Spark Sport are taking a loss to get market share. But given what I use of them, like Premier League, NFL, NBA games that I watch every week from them, I am happy to pay the maybe even double what I'm paying now up to it because but if Spark Sports kind of went up to me and went, oh, okay, we're doing a new thing. You can watch each of our different product leagues for $5 a month, or you can take the whole package for, for like $40 or something like that.
Yeah.
I would probably just go, Premier League, maybe NFL when it's on. I don't need it because it's only on for like
cricket, New Zealand cricket over the summer.
Because I don't need to have 12 months of New Zealand cricket when there's no games. Like
yeah. Over the summer, and then maybe F1 over the F1 or NBA or NFL.
However, and you could customize it. Like I would be happy to pay $5, even $10 per league for the more expensive ones. Yeah, Premier League costs $10 a league. Fine, a month. That's but probably $10, $20 a month is what they used to pay for the Premier League.
Yeah.
But even $20 a month is very reasonable. People in Europe would be like thrilled to pay only $20 a month for like a top 4 league.
Oh, definitely. Like Spark Sports offering is very reasonable. And you've got the EPL, you've got the American sports, you've got Formula One, you've got WRC. Like, not to be too rah-rah for Spark Sports, but hey, Spark Sports, want to sponsor. But it's reasonable. Compare that to Sky Sports, which is double that. It's 40 odd something, $50 a month if you want.
Yeah.
And you don't get the on demand as easily, and it's just what it is. Whilst with Spark Sports, they've done better at segmenting the different sports, the different leagues, on demand, all the rest. It's a much easier to use platform.
I think Spark. The platform is easier to use. Like occasionally, it does crash while you're streaming on your phone and whatnot. Those infrastructure problems will just always be the case. I feel in New Zealand, if you prefer streaming as opposed to satellite, and I do 100%.
Yeah. And most of those crashes are 100% from the incoming stream, not I take that back. Maybe not 100%, 99.9%. Can't think of any of them where they said, "Oh yeah, that was our internal structure here in New Zealand." All of them were like, "Yeah, that wasn't. It was broken before it got to us, so it's going to be broken." Like, not a lot Spark Sport can do if the incoming feed dies.
Yeah. It has its issues and downsides. Like, I can understand why a bulk of people in in the regions of New Zealand are unhappy to take Spark Sport up on their offer.
Yeah.
And I totally understand that.
But that's it being online. So, you get into the regions of New Zealand and it's anything that's online based is problematic. So.
Yes. The fallout of that is now New Zealand Rugby own a portion of Sky.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That is a...
That may have also been a bit of defense by Sky against the rumored Amazon move for Amazon Prime to come in and offer quinzillion odd dollars or whatever massive amount of money they were going to do to get the All Blacks rights.
If New Zealand Rugby had not bought into Sky, and Sky should have had a bumpy year last year, but they did, but because everybody needs to watch content, but I think everybody gave up their Sky Sky subscription, like if the first thing that had to go. Because $10 Netflix you can't justify $80 on Sky, and Sports Started suddenly went off the air. So
no, Sky had a horrible year last year.
Whereas if they weren't in that position, New Zealand Rugby wouldn't have to consider taking money from Silver Lake to purchase 12.5% of their of the commercial rights. Instead, they would just be like, "Here, Amazon, you wanted to pay us all the money? How about we and Sanzar we make a Sanzar pass, a Super League, Super Rugby pass with Amazon."
Yeah, exactly.
It's on Twitch, and we get and we actually connect to the youth with Twitch, like you're doing with NFL, and all these other things that they could trial. Because if the whole point of Silver Lake was to grow the market overseas, I'm pretty sure Amazon are better at that. With all due respect to Silver Lake, just because they're Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you want to grow overseas, Amazon
and get marketed and grow your sport, Amazon backing you is better than Silver Lake. With all due respect to Silver Lake as a company, and I think you and I are immediately even though we're not technically rugby people, everybody's an All Black fan in the country, and we're all immediately American ownership of a foreign club never ends well.
Yeah, it's we've seen this.
Overseas American ownerships of sports entities just never end well.
No.
So that's always the bias. And without going too into it, I am inclined to also agree with the players who say that it's basically works out to them. New Zealand Rugby claimed they're not going to be a cash cow, and I'm I fail to see how you can be anything but a cash cow. Based on what you're saying about the contract. So I don't even have to take the player's word for it. I looked at it and went, I think they're using you as a cash cow. And the players are they're using you as a cash cow. I'm yeah, that's what I thought too. So, and they're saying and to be fair to Silver Lake, that's why you're investing in stuff. You want to make money. This is not and the other part is the players' counter proposal to float 5% of that commercial rights and sell it to the New Zealand public. The fact that New Zealand Rugby went, nah, not at all. To that is to me a worrying sign, because it's do you not want to be answerable to your New Zealand Rugby fans?
Probably not.
And you'd rather be answerable to an American corporation than,
Because money.
Exactly. And so, I don't know anybody who's read the proposal who could would think differently to that. Actually read what the rugby league, New Zealand Rugby has shown to the public and go, this is a good idea, long term.
Yeah.
I fail to see how it can be profitable long term for New Zealand rugby, and then they're gonna be either spending years trying to get rid of Silver Lake, or Silver Lake's gonna end up owning New Zealand rugby, like how the Glaziers ended up owning Manchester United. So yeah, it's not, and a lot of the counter for arguments pretty much come down to, oh, this finance firm says this is the most weighted in one favor agreement we've ever seen towards New Zealand rugby, and I'm like, yeah, but they're a finance company. They're looking at it from that perspective as opposed to like what we as sports fans want.
Yeah, exactly. Which is, it's
like the fact that they say it's weighted to the most weighted to one side deal versus me saying it's a cash cow. Those two things are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they can be right and I can also be right together.
It doesn't. One doesn't exclude the other.
One does not exclude the other. And to be fair, the All Blacks are a big brand sports brand. They're a big sports brand, and they are one of the few surefire wins.
Yeah. I mean, for investment's sake, then it would be a good investment. You're gonna be making money out of it, more than likely. So I can see why investment firms want to get involved.
Yeah.
And I can see why, therefore, they would agree to terms that were more beneficial to New Zealand rugby, because they're still going to make money out of it. Right?
Yes.
I don't care if you get better. It's still a win-win, because we still get the All Blacks brand. We still get to use it. We're still going to get cash out of it. So why not have it in your favour? Because even having it slanted in the New Zealand rugby's favour doesn't stop Silver Lake making plenty of money out of it. So
yeah,
which should really go to show how much money they're how much of a cash cow it is if they're happy to let it. They negotiated, and it's the most one-sided thing anybody's ever that we've seen. Well, what does that say about the cash cowness of this deal? Obviously,
it just means it's super lucrative.
Yeah,
that it's worthwhile to take what looks like a very unfavorable deal.
Yeah, you're still making enough money out of it to make it worth your while. So it's like,
and it doesn't rule out any potential buy-in in the future, and there's just plenty. There's plenty of things I think that are really bad about that deal, and I think the fact that the All Blacks would not be in this position if they hadn't bought into Sky and basically had the option of going to a big broadcaster for their monies, which would probably also use Sky as a local partner anyway. So Sky needn't have overreacted the way they did in that scenario. But that's neither here nor there. So and the things, I think the gist of it here is that we think the ownership model or it's not really an ownership model thing, is it? It's more that they want to restructure of their commercial revenue streams. We can't see a benefit for it. Genuinely tried to, I can say hand on heart, in good faith, read up as much as I could on the proposal, what I could get from the news, and I don't see it as it's basically a loan shark.
Yeah.
It's slightly better than a loan shark. It might be a bit more like a credit card.
It's it's one of those pre-approved credit card mail-outs that you get, and for some reason you've signed up for it.
Yes, and sure, they've given you a lot of room before you need to start making repayments, and giving you deals to make some money, blah blah blah. So it is kind of weighted in it's a very consumer friendly credit card.
Yeah.
But it still has those interest rates that you need to repay, and
6 months, no repayments, interest free, and after that, don't talk about that after that.
Yeah.
Fine print. On.
It's not quite that bad, but it's similar, and so I am inclined to agree with the players on that. I'm sure the players are not just going off the bottom of their heart. And we can expand a bit in a future podcast about the player's position and
Yeah.
players' positions in sports.
Yeah.
I think it's churlish to consider them as employees.
Yeah.
Because they're producing a product that sells. Like
Yeah.
they're like the gold mine.
Yes. And there's definitely a large discussion to be had there about.
Yeah, and we definitely need, and it's like but it's a table discussion because from looking at their proposals face value, or in good faith, I like the proposal to sell 5% shares to the New Zealand public. Heck, I don't see why you can't do both.
Yeah.
And there's nothing saying you can't do that proposal and the fact that they have dismissed it outright makes me feel like New Zealand Rugby just don't want to be answerable to the New Zealand public.
Yeah.
Which I like. I'm not a rugby fan, and so while I'd be angry with that, I'm surprised people in the heartland aren't taking up this cause. Like a lot of the people seem to be anti-players, just they're in it for the money and pro this deal, which I'm like, it's not really a good deal. And the other deal, while maybe not as good as this one initially, is probably going to earn more money for the rugby union in the long run.
Yeah.
And it just makes them more answerable to the New Zealand, rugby supporting public.
Which, yeah, you say seems better.
Yeah.
From a fan point of view, but hey.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's our position, and our biases.
Yeah.
So let's be very clear on that.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to hide our biases when it comes to like American investment into sports teams.
Yeah, I think it's fairly clear.
But we would definitely, I think this is definitely a discussion we'd love to have with people.
Yes, definitely.
Like, honestly, if you disagree with our interpretation of how the deal's playing out, tell me why you think we're wrong. We're more than willing to listen. And yeah. But on that note, I think that's all we have time for today. Thank you very much for listening, and we look forward to having you next time.
Catch you next time.